Ever since picking up my dream car, my Tesla Model 3 a couple of weeks ago, I've had friends and family ask me about the cost of insurance, which I totally get because for such an expensive car and being myself 23 and in the UK, where insurance is notoriously expensive, it's interesting to find out. So I'm going to tell you. Now I know there's another video on YouTube already by Jack Massey Welsh, if you're watching, hi, who pretty much did the same thing a year ago on his 2020 Tesla Model 3. And yes, we're both 23 years old, we both live in the UK and we both have a Tesla. But my experience was a lot different, but it was still expensive, a lot more than my previous car, which was a little Suzuki Swift, which on my last year of insurance costed me around £500, but that's a lot less than my first year, which was almost £1,600. That's a lot of money. Now, Tesla themselves recommend that you go with Direct Line, which is also what Jack did. On their website, they say Direct Line is the cheapest, or that's who we recommend, but that definitely wasn't the case for me, and it certainly seems to have changed in the last year with buying a Tesla, so if you're getting one, make sure to shop around. Now, going with Direct Line themselves, they gave me a quote of around about £2,300, which a lot of money compared to what I ended up paying. That's quite similar to what Jack had for his first year, but it was a lot. So I did what I always do with my insurance, and I hopped onto a price comparison website.
Go compare! Go compare! Go.
And the cheapest one that kept coming up was Churchill. 1,200, 1,300, no black box, 10,000 miles this is with. I probably should mention that, 10,000 miles, which I know a lot of people do more, but considering I work from home, I typically do around about 6,000 to 8,000 a year, but I like to have that little extra, that little buffer, you could say. Now, with my Churchill insurance, I had to call them up because I hadn't actually got the car yet and my registration plate wouldn't go in the websites. They wouldn't accept it. Tesla doesn't register the car till the morning that you pick it up. So I called them up and I spoke to a very nice guy who got me all sorted out. He took my registration number. He asked me and he said, has it got any extras? Has it got autopilot or anything like that? And I was like, yes, you know, it's got autopilot as standard. And he said, all right, you know, I put it in and he said, oh, well, I got some good news for you, Aaron. Because you've told us that autopilot is in your car, it ended up being about 5 to 10% cheaper. So I've got it here written down. My official first year of insurance on my Tesla Model 3 was £1,039. That's with no extra drivers, just myself, and that's pretty much it. So a lot cheaper than what Jack had on his Tesla, which was like £2,200. Though I have to say he had his partner on it, which, Becky, hi if you're watching, I know you follow me on Twitter, I'm sure added a bit more to it as well. And I also know he reduced his excess, which is something I didn't do. So this is where it gets a little bit rough. Yeah, excess amounts. So if I do get in a crash, there is going to be quite a bit to pay. My total excess, which also includes a young driver's excess, is £1,100. So if I get in an accident that's my fault, or I hit someone else's car or whatever, it's going to cost me £1,100 out of my own pocket, which is more than the cost of the insurance itself. I spoke with the guy about like upping the limit, but it pretty much, as the price of the insurance went up, the excess came down. So if I'd spent £2,000, my excess was going to be like 100. And at that point, well, I hope not to crash the car once in a year, and to make that worthwhile, I'd have to crash it twice. So I decided against it. I mean, some people might question that, but it didn't make any sense. Like I haven't had to claim on my insurance. I've driven relatively safely in the last few years on my old car. So yeah, I think it's okay. Other little tidbits that's interesting though is the fire and theft is also £1,100, which for a Tesla is a bit worrying. You know, a big fat battery, not saying Teslas explode or catch fire, but you know, there's always a little chance. And then secondly, there is a lot of people who like to hate on Teslas, though I think it's more of an American problem, because on my little drive today to Tesco's, I've already had 2 people ask me about the car and have been very nice. Though there was one blocking the electric car charging bay, but Here's what it is, life's life. The most interesting thing I find is I was looking at buying my Tesla back in February, but ended up having to delay it due to certain things that happened this year. And insurance quotes back then were looking to be about £2,300 to £2,600. And I think the reason for that is, one, I was 22 years old back then, and secondly, I was looking at leasing the car instead of actually my company owning it. And I think when the company owns it, insurance companies are a lot more willing to charge less, I think. So yeah, that covers the video. I hope that kind of gave you an insight into the Tesla insurance, or how much it has costed me for getting it. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.
Oh, consider subscribing, because that would be nice. And if you're going to buy a Tesla, there's a link in the description. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.